Shador Sanders will start his first preseason game for the Cleveland Browns. Anthony Richardson starting for the Colts. More notes on quarterbacks, running back extensions, and more on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us. And just the core group of the everydayers. Love you. Please hit that subscribe button. I know a lot of everydayers aren't even subscribed on YouTube or any of their of our podcast platforms, and we are on all of them. And tell a friend. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Consider subscribing as well to YouTube or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And we got to start with.
Oh, BB, real quick. I met Michael Addison today. He has written in 8,000 times. He is a super nice guy. He does all my Steeler stuff, and he just said, I saw you walking down. I wanted to run over, shake your hand, and see how things are. And thanks for taking all my mailbag questions. I'm like, yeah, Michael. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, Michael, a frequent name. I see him a lot in the getting involved in the mailbag episodes. By the way, get those questions in for Thursday's mailbag episode. We have James Yarko of Locked On Buccaneers on with us on tomorrow, Wednesday's episode here. So, get those questions in at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL and in the YouTube comments. Shador Sanders getting the start.
Yeah.
Getting the start. The rookie fifth rounder. Getting the start over the rookie third rounder, over a couple of veteran quarterbacks. That is a huge headline. Shedeur Sanders starting the first preseason game for the Denver Broncos. Cleveland Browns. I've got Broncos on the brains. The Niners are doing a joint practice, so I keep talking about the Denver.
Joint practices are fun.
Yeah. Dude, joint practices are where it's at, right? Like they're awesome, better than the preseason games. They should televise those more often. You know, a lot of teams are starting to do a lot more with publicizing training camp and training camp practices, and even making them viewable, not even just for people that travel there, for fans to see, streaming and televised essentially, like the spring game. Which is kind of a lot of fun. And I'm seeing more and more of that around the league. So that's definitely, and look, hey, another way for the league to monetize things potentially as well. So
real quick along those lines, when there's, which is every Steeler practice, if there's fans in the stands and on the hillside, we can say anything we want. But they won't be at the joint practices. They do that at the stadium. I think that's when they actually have stuff that they don't want people to see.
I
think they hide a little bit, but it's cool. Like on OTAs, there's no fans there, so I can't say what I'm watching live. But here, because there are fans, I can say he just blew out his knee, or they just ran this, or this is their play they're calling. They flea flicker, blah, blah, blah.
It's out there. It's public. It's
a public, right?
Interesting. Yeah, because as a beat writer, you're not allowed to talk about scheme formations and things that teams are working on, even in the portions that media is allowed to see at training camp practices. So, Shedeur Sanders, he will start in preseason game number 1 for the Browns against the Carolina Panthers. And that's a huge headline until you look a little bit deeper into it, Matt. And I do need to preface this because everyone's referencing Mary Kay Cabot's report about Shedeur Sanders expected to start Friday night's preseason opener on the road against the Carolina Panthers. But if you go to Mary Kay Cabot's report that everybody's aggregating, she goes on to say, with Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel both nursing hamstring injuries.
Yeah.
It kind of dampens the, oh my gosh, Shedeur Sanders has leapfrogged people already. Well, Kenny Pickett's been dealing with something for a while. Dylan Gabriel now coming up with a hamstring injury. So neither one of them is going to play. And the 40-year-old veteran and Joe Flacco, none of the starters, quote unquote starters and veteran guys are playing anyway. So there's really nobody else to play this game except for Shedeur Sanders. So it's not quite as big of a headline as I first thought it was when I saw this report.
Sometimes you have to unpeel the onion a little bit. And from what I've been reading, of course, I'm not there. Flacco's gotten the least amount of reps of all of them. Now, he was with the team, but he wasn't last year. So I assume that we're not going to beat up his body. I assume he's still the favorite to be the week 1 starter. I even wonder, like, does he look around and be like, why am I even here? At this point, too, I would be my thought. Or if there's an injury around the league, is Flacco the first call for the team that loses a quarterback? I don't know. But anyway, it does sound like the other three have gotten the majority of the reps. And I'm glad you mentioned that because it is sort of by default. I mean, I think that's kind of what's happening here. That being said, if you just read the headline and it still remains a fact, Sanders is going to start, that's what you want as a Browns fan. You know what I mean? Like, at least he's not embarrassing himself, or maybe he does play really well and is the opening day starter or ends up being your guy. I mean, if anyone's their long-term guy on that team, I think it's Sanders. I have my doubts about it, and I've been very critical of how they've handled the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
But if they have a long-term quarterback on that team, I think there's only one guy that can be that guy.
It's wild because they drafted another quarterback ahead of him, Dylan Gabriel, a couple of rounds ahead of him. And so you spend a third-round pick on a quarterback, but the fifth-round guy is the one. And, by all reports, and this is hard because I think Shador Sanders' name is just, people are going to be in that orbit as far as reporting and paying attention to it. But, just kind of looking at reports and seeing what people are talking about. Nobody's really talking about Dylan Gabriel as well. Hamstring injury might be a little bit of a part of that, but he's been practicing. But man, there was a day where Shador Sanders was nearly perfect today at Browns camp. And then, the next day, maybe he threw an interception. But I think there's maybe just more reports on him, period. But it does sound like at least he's in that competition and he's not wilting and he's not maybe your average fifth-round pick.
So I take it as good news from a Browns perspective, but not as good a news as if he was the best guy in camp, clearly. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we'll see. I mean, at least he's going to run with the ones and put valuable tape out there on Thursday night or whatever it is.
And really, it's bad news for the Browns if Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett isn't clearly way ahead right now either.
In some ways, yeah. I would think it's bad news for Flacco and Pickett, maybe more than
right. Exactly, yeah, because you would not, you would expect that a veteran quarterback would be way ahead of any rookie quarterback, even if it was the number one overall pick in the draft.
Yes,
and I think we're kind of seeing this in New Orleans as well. You brought this to my attention that by a lot of reports, it looks like Tyler Shuck, the rookie, who's an older rookie that you thought would be, among the most ready to go quarterback prospects in this draft, might be a little bit behind, as most rookies are.
Yeah, and again, this is secondhand information, and I know that beat reporters have to put something out every day, but there's a lot of reports coming out that it's not even close. That Rattler's been the much better player, which doesn't blow me away. And I was a Shuck fan coming out, but he is older, and you would hope that he's a little further along than other rookies at this stage. But Rattler's only a second-year guy, too. I mean, I don't think his book is written. He's allowed to get better from his rookie year. There was a day that he was like the top recruit in the country, and he has some skills. I mean, I think Rattler's interesting to me.
Oh, certainly. Very interesting prospect. And again, it just kind of underlines the idea that you should expect that, especially at the quarterback position, that a rookie's head's going to be spinning a little bit, and most veterans, even if they're of the backup variety, should look like they're more comfortable in a scheme than most rookie quarterbacks will.
Yeah.
And now you have to get in. It's the job of the team. Literally, they're called coaches for a reason. Coach up the players, get them ready so that by the time the season starts, those rookies are ready to go if they're the most talented guy and the guy that you need to play. But there's a reason why, in New York, it's going to be Russell Wilson and not Jackson Dart to start. It's just really hard for rookie quarterbacks in the NFL.
I was listening to a podcast this morning where Greg Cosell is a regular on this Titans podcast, and I'm a big Cosell fan, so I tune in once in a while. And it was Greg and the Titans offensive coordinator having a conversation about Ward. Basically, it goes back to this. And I think this is very common around the league, is the offensive coordinator mentioned, we're trying to make Ward as uncomfortable as possible. We want him to struggle now, not week 4. We want to throw exotic blitzes at him and things of that nature. So not only are you swimming as a young guy, but they're trying to make your life difficult a lot of times. It's not just here, throw a check down every time. That doesn't make any better,
Right. And you do see that a lot from a lot of veterans quarterback. I love the
Kent Graham, Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart story. I think we told it yesterday. Is such a great example of that. And we're seeing a little bit of that. Was a report from 49ers camp today. It was like Mac Jones, 14 of 14, until his final throw, which was incomplete in a red zone drill or something like that. And it's like, well, but most of them were checkdowns and short little passes, and then a couple of nice throws thrown in. But
verse air,
right? Yeah. And another thing that I think is what that we have to remember, and that's why these games and joint practices are so important. You get to actually hit somebody, and you get to actually tackle somebody. And Robert Saleh was talking about a lot of the 49ers rookies today. And it just kind of dawned on me, and it's obvious, but I didn't really think about it because there's so many reports, and you take a lot of these reports so serious. And he's like, and we also have to figure out if these guys can tackle, because they haven't literally tackled yet one time as an NFL player, because you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And so that's a really important part, especially if you're evaluating like running backs and linebackers.
Yeah, and you tie back the Niners, I tie it back the Steelers. The Steelers had a full padded practice 2 days ago, and they interviewed Aaron Rodgers after, and he's like, I haven't been part of a practice that physical in 12 years or something, he said. Definitely not with the Jets, and well into my Packer career. Like they were taking people to the ground,
So that is, one more bit of quarterback news next, which is Anthony Richardson. Looks like he's going to start for the Indianapolis Colts. We've got some running back news as well, with James Cook holding in with the Buffalo Bills, but now Los Angeles Rams running back Kyren Williams got himself a new deal. Does that help or hinder the James Cook conversation? Packers in trouble in the defensive backfield, and a whole lot more to get into from reports around the NFL. And tons of training camps getting ready for preseason week 1 next. This episode of Peacock Williamson is sponsored by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of year. NFL kickoffs, preseason games are happening. That means fantasy football drafts. Fantasy football season is back and in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. I know I'm playing Yahoo Fantasy, Matt's playing Yahoo Fantasy, and whether it's your first time or you're a veteran making your millionth league, you can play fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo's dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, and I'm super excited to join one of these leagues. It's a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play head-to-head private leagues, join a public league. You don't have to know anybody. All you got to do is go to yahoo.com, yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. You can join a league right now. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. We heard yesterday, Matt, that it was Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson at the top of the depth chart, the first unofficial official depth chart for the Indianapolis Colts. And now we are learning that Anthony Richardson is going to get the start in preseason game number 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. Does that mean Daniel Jones is not playing at all and Anthony Richardson's getting the backup treatment? Or does that mean Anthony Richardson's going to get first crack at being QB1, then Daniel Jones is going to come back, in which I assume in preseason week number 2, it goes Daniel Jones first, then Anthony Richardson?
It's interesting because putting a quality quarterback behind the number 2 O-line isn't a great recipe for keeping him healthy or succeeding, or, it's a real test for the GM and roster builder to have a quality second offensive line, so you can get a lot done in the preseason and evaluate your running game and your quarterback and your protection, all those stuff, because there's just not enough good linemen to go around. Back to the Sanders thing, I know that was by default, but I think if you're a Colts fan, this is at least what you want to hear. Give the most talented, the upside guy, the potential answer, the first crack at things, and assume it was earned and not just given because he was a high pick. You know what I mean? I do think it's interesting, though. Will they go every other game getting the number 1 treatment, or is that to be determined? Yeah,
and if you were the Colts, a tie goes to Anthony Richardson.
It should.
Right? Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Right.
At least it's a tie.
And that's good.
That's good enough for now.
That's really step good 1. Anthony Richardson can tie Daniel Jones. And it's funny to say because I've not been the I've not been the highest on Daniel Jones.
Right. We know what he is.
Start there, right? And you need to at least be as good as Daniel Jones. You're like, okay, now we can grow from there rather than it's like, man, if Daniel Jones is better than Anthony Richardson, then you got work to do at quarterback.
That's the way I took it. Is if it's clear that Daniel Jones is way better than your 4th overall pick at this point, you got bigger problems.
News around the NFL, we're seeing a lot of contract extensions and seeing some players that are upset not getting their contract extensions. And
got a little suspension too. Yeah,
we got a suspension as well. Kyren Williams, though, getting paid.
Yeah.
Kyren Williams, new contract with the Los Angeles Rams. It's a 3-year, $33 million extension. $23 million of that is guaranteed. So essentially it's $11 million a year. Two years of that is guaranteed money. And that was done by Drew and Jason Rosenhaus. And so there you go. Kyren Williams getting some new money. And Kyren Williams is an interesting player because I think the number one thing that comes to mind with Kyren Williams is just how much the Rams love him and how much they utilize him. And they never take him off the field. They want him doing everything in their offense. And you can see it with the stats he's put up over the last couple of years. So since 2023, he's number 3 in rushing yards, which is surprising to me.
Wow.
2,443 rushing yards is 3 out of the entire NFL. 26 rushing touchdowns is tied for 2nd in the NFL over those past 2 seasons. 1,600 yards after contact is 3rd, and 146 first downs is also 2nd. So he's tied for 2nd or 3rd in some very key metrics there. He's on the field a lot, and he's done a lot for the Los Angeles Rams. So well-deserved for Kyren Williams, and gets 2 of those 3 years guaranteed.
Yeah, a couple nuggets here. I mean, he has that same reputation, go back to Notre Dame, of just being beloved by coaches, teammates, staff, lunch ladies, everybody. He does all the little things, tough as could be. And little known fact, but every year that McVay has been the head coach of the Rams, they have drafted a running back. I mean, I think that's not by accident, obviously. Corum wasn't that deep down. Even this year, it wasn't a late pick, So
Corum was a 2nd rounder.
He was a 2 or 3. Yeah, he was definitely a day 2 guy. Yeah, and he's kind of been forgotten all of a sudden. But they found one in the mid rounds in Williams, who they love. My only reservations, and it's not much. I mean, you can get out of this contract easily, and it's not a super long-term commitment. Is he is a smaller guy that is reliable and tough as he is, has taken quite a beating over the years. I mean, he's been a lot of touches over the last couple seasons, and he's not Derrick Henry or a huge back in that regard. And we had a pretty good James Cook conversation yesterday. Is Cook worth more or less, or do the Bills just say, well, there's a good comp, let's just go with that?
I think that's a fantastic way to look at it. And if you're the Bills, you're like, okay, if they were close, the Bills are like, we'll give you 10, and like, we want 12. Mm-hmm. And you're the Bills are like, yeah, okay, well, let's come back to 11. 2 of those this year and next year guaranteed. 3 years, 33. Let's go. I have a feeling Cook might want more than that.
I think he's more dynamic, but he hasn't had as good a career. I'd rather have Cook going forward, but I might rather have Williams if I'm the Rams this minute than
Williams
what he's accomplished. Yeah. But I think they're in the same tier. I mean, I would think that's a jumping off point for the agent.
Yeah, if you told me tomorrow that they got a deal done that's similar, and so that's probably where this thing is one side sees it very differently. Maybe the Bills are like, well, we're offering you $7 million a year or something, right? Or only a much smaller portion of it guaranteed. Because if you're a running back, it's all about guaranteed money at this point.
Sure.
And these contracts, it's crazy how much different it is to be a running back than a wide receiver. Like you are the everything on the field all the time running back for the Rams, and you're getting half as much as wide receiver 2s in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, not even close. Like I still get such a kick out of when the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley. It was basically the exact same deal Gabe Davis signed with the Jags.
Yeah.
Like these two are worth the same.
Like they can get out of it after one season. The guarantees aren't far down the road at all. So yeah, that's wild. And that's why I think smart teams are coming back around. They're like, well, I guess
Eagles, Ravens, Packers.
Yeah, we don't have to draft them high. We can use the high draft picks on the other positions, the tackles and the defensive linemen and corners and even wide receivers and things. And then we can just sign
like one of the best guys in the league.
Because we get a really good one, and it's short-term money, and we can pay him a lot while they're worth it.
Then if he blows out his knee, I'll do it again next year.
Yeah, it's not even a lot. Right. Yeah, if they are healthy. So,
and I would imagine Cook can't go to the Bills and be like, I want Henry or Saquon money for two reasons, because they're just not comps. I mean, the age is so different. The age favors Cook, and the other two are just way better players. They're more valuable.
Exactly. So that's probably, we could guess where this thing is at. Is it should be somewhere close to Kyren Williams contract, and if one party is way off of that, then they're the wrong.
That might be a trade time.
Right?
They just can't. This bridge is burned.
Yeah. You mentioned suspensions. Jordan Addison. The league has come down now with a 3-game suspension, and the official policy is the violating the league's substances of abuse policy. So Addison is going to miss now 3 games. Those 3 games are for the Vikings schedule is the Chicago Bears, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Cincinnati Bengals, which is pretty standard. And I think this is what people expected. It's DUI related. If you have a DUI related incident, you're going to get 3 games by the NFL. And there's a few more players that have some stuff in the offseason. And I don't know if they're waiting on, courts to finish their stuff, but a few more players I think are in line for this same 3-game suspension thing, including potentially Rashee Rice as well. Rice might be more because it might compound with some other things. Yeah,
I think Addison has had 1 or 2 things off the field as well, and they might have been vehicular. I'm not positive on that. I don't know. I mean, I guess you get it out of the way and move on. But you do have a really young quarterback that you'd like to get some rapport with Addison those first couple of weeks. An interesting note, and I know this because the Steelers, but the 3-game suspension kicks in, but then week 4, they're in Ireland to play the Steelers. And then week 5, they're in England, I think, to play the Browns. So they're staying in Europe 2 weeks in a row after his suspension. I just wonder how that messes with his practice schedule and things like that.
Yeah, and look, they drive on the wrong side of the road over there too. So let's just not be anywhere.
Don't give him the keys.
But that's really good. He won't play a football game in America until November.
Yeah, and by then he should maybe get things straightened out.
Yes. No, but you're right. The biggest thing isn't really even for the Vikings; it's for a first-year starter quarterback.
Yeah, McCarthy.
Weapon for him to throw to. So that not ideal.
They're not loaded a receiver outside the top 2 guys either.
Next, new technology coming to the NFL to hopefully the chain gang. Come on, we're still measuring with a chain. New first down technology coming to the NFL. And one other note on the Green Bay Packers, who have lost another defensive back. Could they possibly be in trouble? Next. This episode of Peacock Williamson brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And man, if you share finances with somebody, Monarch Money can help that out tremendously. Makes it so easy to track your own personal accounts and your shared accounts, and really keeps everybody on the same page, and really keeps everybody on the same page without the stress, which is so important. So whatever your goals are, saving for college, you want to buy that home, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. So the Green Bay Packers are going to be without, and I don't have the report in front of me, but Nate Hobbs is on the shelf.
It sounds like. Yeah.
Out for the entire year.
Yep. I think it's a huge deal. Not that he's the greatest player in the world, but we knew that Jari Alexander and the Packers had split ways probably long ago, and that got finalized with the Ravens. Hobbs was their big corner addition. It was the best thing they added, because I don't think they drafted one. And if so, it was super, super late. We were even joking off the air. They're asking Bo Melton, a receiver, to learn corner. And maybe he played it in high school or whatever, and his brother's a corner for the Cardinals. But I made a joke that my sister's a lawyer. That doesn't mean you want to hire me as a lawyer. You know what I mean?
I'm not hiring Matt Williamson to represent me. That's for sure. Yeah. And Bo Melton now working, and look, they have a lot of extra wide receivers there.
Right.
Maybe Bo Melton turns himself into a corner as good as his brother Max. But clearly that's not. And you look at the names on the list, and maybe some of the guys
are one of the worst position groups in the whole league.
Keyshawn Nixon's been a good special teams guy for a while, but he's penciled in to be one of the starters. Nate Hobbs is going to be the main nickel guy there. Jair Alexander's obviously gone as well. So you have Carrington Valentine. You got Corey Ballantyne. So you got a Valentine and a Ballantyne.
Nice.
I was a big fan of Corey Ballantyne, by the way, coming into the NFL as he was a smaller school guy. I can't remember what school he went to, kind of a big athletic corner, but he's a reserve player. And so
Washburn.
Yeah. I mean, you got Javon Bullard there.
Who can also play the slot. Bullard's a good player and they're counting on him, but they don't have any outside corners.
Kalen King. It's
pretty slim.
It's very slim. And there was a guy available yesterday. The Raiders traded Jacorian Bennett to the Philadelphia Eagles for a defensive lineman. If this happened a day sooner, would they have been able to pull off that sort of a trade? A very recent 4th round cornerback. So, corners that have the ability to potentially start or be a very key reserve are not super easy to find, especially at this point in the offseason, unless it's an aging vet type that might still be out there.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. I think like Stephon Gilmore is still on the street, but I mean, they have warts and they're slowing down and they're well past their expiration date. Those type of guys. This is a really good roster. Like they're loaded at safety. I like their off the ball linebackers, but man, I look at this corner room amongst contending teams. I can't come up with a position group that's as bad. It's actually, I mean, the Dolphins are in the same conversation. Just who are these guys playing corner?
Certainly something to monitor. Does somebody jump out, one of the other players on the roster through the preseason, or are there some big moves, potentially trades or signings for some of these teams? And definitely looking at that defensive backfield, the corners for the Green Bay Packers. How about this?
I wonder if they move like Romeo Doubs or something for a corner, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. They've already moved one wide receiver to play corner on the team. Maybe you could trade a guy and bring in a cornerback. Guys that actually played the position in the last half decade. How about this? Hawkeye Innovations, Hawkeye Technology, line to gain coming to the NFL. 6 ultra high def cameras. This isn't a chip in the football.
No.
This is 6 ultra high definition cameras arranged along one sideline at all different angles to help figure out where the ball is and can potentially pinpoint where the football is in the line to gain and help us end this whole chain gang thing in the NFL once and for all. You see the tennis technology, hockey. This is different technology, but the league had to figure out something here. It's the year 2025, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's about time that they do something technology based, not just 2 old men holding a chain that's 10 yards apart and come running out. And that's made me crazy forever. Like, I don't think that's changed since 1950. So I'm sure any innovation is great. I do think the chain gang's still going to sit there. I mean, I think they're still going to do their job. But doing a little bit of research on this, it sounds like it should be able to pinpoint it, that they can come up. It's the whole process takes less than 30 seconds. So it's not like it's going to be, here we have to wait for this. And I'm sure they're going to drive it down our throats in preseason coverage. And we'll learn more as we watch starting Thursday. But by all accounts, the ref, I think, is going to say it is 4th and 4 inches. They can really break it, not like 4th and short or, get the index card out or any of the nonsense they've done in the past. Like, I think they can break it down to like the inch.
Yeah, I would love that. I'm looking at this pamphlet. It's 4th and 3 inches, and it's if it's pinpoint, it's pinpoint, right? And if not, then maybe there'll be some problems. And if there's any kind of issues, then you still have the guys holding the chains, and they can run out on the field and figure this out. But it's been a long time coming and really long overdue to have this technology out there. It's 6 ultra high definition cameras on the sideline, and they should, with all those angles, be able to extrapolate where exactly the ball is. And I can't wait to see how it's utilized in these preseason games, and hopefully it's up to snuff and we can see it in the regular season games.
Yeah. The last thing I just did, and just stealing this from the young fella that I was doing Steelers coverage with, because he's a big hockey and soccer fan. He said there's a chip in the puck, and then there's a laser for the goal line in the goal. There's a chip in a soccer ball, and there's a a laser for whether it's a goal or not, so this is totally different. Then if you read it a little bit, it says we only need one of these 6 cameras, but we're going to use them all to like triangulate it in case we need them. But one should be able to do it. That they've got it down to that science. I don't know. I'm interested.
The thing I think of is if it's a camera and there's people in the way, then I guess it's
maybe the other 6 or
you can't tell actually where it's down would be the big question.
But isn't that still the same problem that someone still has to blow the whistle amongst 22 huge human beings to know when the ball is down and where it's spotted?
Yeah,
this doesn't help the spotting problem.
If everyone's out of the way, then
right.
then where the ball is and how far it is. And look, TV broadcasts have already had that figured out for a long time, and like they know where the line. They tell you where the line is. They show it on the screen, right? So there's technology to do that. They've had that for decades, and so.
But like a tush-push scrum, you still don't exactly know where the ball should be.
Where a chip would come in handy, knowing exactly where the ball is, knowing when they're down. Then it could be like, whistle, where's the ball? Can you figure out? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. At least it's a step in the right direction. We're using technology and not chain links.
Here we go. Technology. Let's go. Let's do it. All right. Let us know what you think about the Hawkeye Innovations line to gain technology, quarterback competitions, or anything in the NFL that's on your mind. Hit us up at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL in the YouTube comments, and subscribe while you're there. Matt and I back tomorrow right here at Peacock and Williamson.